you have found we like the blazing. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Gardner, and over there sitting in his chair wearing his Mariners memorabilia, if you will, it is the one, the only, the Ryan Whitledge. Ryan, what's up, dude?
That is a lot of energy. This is a Monday, sir. This is a Monday.
I'm ready to go. Man, I'm pumped. I'm hyped. I've done all the chores today. I ran over to Les Schwab. I switched out the winter tires for the summer tires. Didn't realize it was going to be free. That was directly after I did a 20-minute all-out FTP test that totally exhausted me. That was after I washed the car and I did I swept and I did the whole landscaping thing, and I was doing work today and someone's mad at me and I wrote a whole thread on financial literacy. So dude, we're going to a class to learn how to do our own electrical stuff at home. So dude, I am pumped. I don't know what the problem is, but yeah, no man, I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, about the time that the temperature rose here, I discovered that my air conditioner it went kaput. So that was a fun wrench in things on Saturday because we turned on the air conditioning. The wife's Saturday night. That was Saturday night, and the wife was hosting an event that was going to involve about 20 people coming over to our house while I was taking the son to a soccer game, and so we turned the AC on, and then nothing's working. Nothing's happening. Just regular air is blowing out of all of our vents. And I'm like, that's not good. So I start messing around with circuits, and I get about to the extent of my knowledge on those things. And I'm like, okay. So the unit on my actual interior motor and furnace itself is working, but my condenser unit on my roof is what's apparently having the problem. So
the condenser is critical to air conditioning after all.
Yes. Now, the benefit of being a construction foreman is that I sit in many foreman's meetings with many of people that are very good at many of things. And I just so happen to pick the brain of the HVAC foreman today. I'm like, hey, what should I check out? Here's what it's doing. What's going on? And he's like, oh, look at this and this and this, and if you don't feel comfortable checking that out or whatever. He's like, didn't you say you live close to here? I was like, yeah, I'm 10 minutes up the road. He's like, let me know, and one of these days after work I can swing up there and check it out for you. He goes, it sounds like it's this, which would probably a company would probably charge you about $600 to $800 to replace, but it's a $50 part.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll get you. You come up on my roof and look at it with me and diagnose it correctly. I'll throw a 12-pack of beer your way. And he's like, all right, sounds good.
Did you and the wife have the Sears commercial dialogue back and forth? Do you know what I'm talking about? Say tomorrow's going to be hotter like yesterday. Yesterday, you said you'd call Sears. I'll call today. You'll call now. I'll call now. And then you call Sears and you get...
Well, Sears doesn't exist anymore, so I can't call them.
You know what? You cannot take away
every company that I called. It was great because the wife called one, and just for a service inspection, just to come out and take a gander, she called one, and it was $150. And
well, of course, everyone's calling at the same time too.
She's like, okay, we'll call around. And so I called 6 places today. I never got lower than 150, but my favorite was that I called one place and they're like, oh yeah, it'll be 189. And I was like, okay, I'll keep calling around, just to see if I can get a ballpark, anything less than 150. And next place I called, they're like, oh yeah, no, for the half-hour little inspection to come out and take a look, it's 289. And I legit laughed out loud to the guy.
You were like,
and he's like, what? And I was like, well, congratulations. It's like, congratulations. You guys are the most expensive price in all 7 places I've called around to. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, the last place that I called was previously the most expensive at 180, and you guys got them beat by $100. So thanks for your time. Click.
You just gave them an important piece of market research. By the way, we're going to an electrical class, which is why we're going to keep this snappy. Last week, we're at a plumbing class, tried to self-diagnose a leaky toilet. We were unable to do it. I was completely baffled. Plumber came out. They were super, super nice. They were like, let me see. Turns out the tank and the toilet were not affixed together properly, which is not something I had even thought to look for. And apparently,
step 1, make sure all the bolts are tight.
Well, yes. I mean, I had even been back there. I was shaking stuff, but apparently Cassie says that, yeah, sometimes I leaned back and I'm like, you shouldn't lean back. And so at any rate, that's what it was. $30 came out, and which is like, honestly, for like a plumber to come out and like, I thought it was going to be less than that just to be there. So anyway, shout out to Two Mountains Plumbing. They were awesome. But Ryan, one more thing. You're not going to kill my dream of having nostalgic commercials stuck in my head. How dare you not know the Sears air conditioning commercial? You got to put that one in your back pocket for the next time it gets hot. Anyways, Google it. Look it up on YouTube.
I know the commercial in which you speak.
Thank God. Anybody our age,
if the company doesn't exist anymore, I kind of get rid of their jingles.
No, that's one that you have to have in your mind, like whatever. Anyways, everybody's got certain commercials in their head. That's got to be one of them, especially if you're of a certain age, of which we both are. But Ryan, that is not why we're here. We got two hot topics. One of them is the NBA's coaching. Listen, man, you got to get hyped for it. It's the off season. We didn't record last week. I'll bring the heat. You'll bring the umami. And at some point when we have a guest, they can bring the ice chill. But we got two big topics for you. One of them is the NBA's coaching carousel. The second is the NBA draft lottery. Ryan, I will leave it to you. Which of those two hot topics do you want to address first?
I think we got to go in chronological order, because that is also the reason that we did not record last week, because somebody kept wanting to punt the podcast down the road in case there would be big news that we'd have to discuss.
Wait a minute. So I still think it's possible that one Chauncey Billups, the first, is he a junior or senior, will not begin the season as Portland Trailblazers coach. I don't think that's likely, but I do think it's possible. I'll let you make fun of me, but let me just set the table really quick. The NBA had up to 6 coaching vacancies this offseason between the Charlotte Hornets. That job has been filled by Charles Lee. The Brooklyn Nets, that job has been filled by Jordi Fernandez. And then most relevant to this conversation, the Phoenix Suns, which for the briefest of moments, we had some chatter from a legitimate question mark NBA reporter saying that, whoa, Phoenix Suns, because they let go of Frank Vogel. Well, gee whiz, Chauncey Billups sure has a great relationship with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. He sure is respected. He sure might be looked at as one of their coaches. And by the way, this came after the Blazers unceremoniously refused to extend the contracts. Reed fired both Chauncey Billups' lead assistant and his brother assistant coach. Which is kind of weird, but so Ryan, let me let you make fun of me. I thought for a brief moment, based on that reporting, I think from Chris Mannix, I'm going off the top, that yes, Chauncey Billups is going to be the Phoenix Suns head coach. Sue me for being full of hope. What was your read on that at the time?
Well, the minute that I saw the Chris Mannix news, I said, all right, Chauncey Billups needs to give his PR team a raise, because that stunk of nothing more than the Phoenix job was open. Chauncey does have a good relationship with KD, who wouldn't probably want to go and coach, KD and Booker and whatnot. And so the sense I get from that is that Billups' camp said, yeah, sure, we'd be interested. And, if we want to get that narrative out there and see where that goes, let's go ahead and do that. i.e. everybody, every agent, whether it be player, coach, whatever, same as every GM has a source, and this is not bashing on Chris Mannix in any way, shape or form, but probably reach out to Mannix and we're like, hey, let's just float this out in the ether. That's a reporter favor on that. Do I think that he was ever a legit serious candidate for the job? No, I think it was always Mike Budenholzer, but this, I think, very much does shed light on the situation between Chauncey Billups and the Trailblazers organization. I don't think he wants to be here that much anymore. I don't think it's I don't think there's animosity and he's like, ooh, get me out of here. But at the same, and I don't think that the Blazers necessarily care if he were to leave, but Jody Allen's cheap, so she's not going to fire him, even though it's just, $5 million, quote unquote, just $5 million. And so I get the sense that if anybody is seriously interested in Chauncey, that they will allow him to look at those possibilities and be fine with another team taking over his contract. But 1 year left in his deal. He's not going to get fired I doubt the man is going to, just walk away and quit unless he's got another job absolutely 100% lined up. But I very much did enjoy all of the discourse that was happening during that time with the talk of Chauncey Billups is going to be Phoenix's head coach. That made zero sense. If Phoenix is fired their last coach because they underwhelmed and whatever, there's nothing that Chauncey has done that says, you know what, let's take the most expensive roster in the frickin' league and put this coach who hasn't shown exactly what he can do as a coach, and voila, championship. Now, again, Ishbia has been meddling to high heaven, but
I got to jump in here. Enough weird stuff happens in NBA coaching circles to lead me to believe that it's possible. I didn't think it was likely, but look, it's kind of weird.
Possible, but I don't think the Suns had any interest in him. I think this was all just straight from Billups' camp. This was straight from Billups' camp.
And reminder to everybody, Chris Mannix, the same reporter who reported midway through the year in a totally out of context tweet, something to the effect of, do we really think that Chauncey Billups wants to stick around with this rebuilding team? As if Chauncey Billups has any standing or stature as a head NBA coach to have those kinds of opinions and to direct his way somewhere else. I have a couple of thoughts on this. The first is I misspoke earlier. There were up to 5 head coaching vacancies. The other 2 that are still open are with the Lakers and with the Washington Wizards. The other thought is that, look, the Blazers already lost one of their assistant coaches a little bit earlier. Hetzel, what's his first name and why am I forgetting this? But Steve Hetzel left in April to join the Brooklyn Nets coaching staff, right? So then the Blazers don't renew Scott Brooks, which is Billups' lead assistant, don't renew Rodney Billups. It's just Chauncey Billups' brother. So there's better reporting than you'll get from me, not reporting, even analysis / reporting, because I don't report, from Mike Richmond of Locked On Blazers, which was a terrific episode that basically kind of walked us through what could the Blazers be thinking, what could this be portending, and that it is kind of weird that the Blazers, rather than just simply firing Billups, appear to be, because they're cheap and they don't want to pay him, appear to be kind of making him uncomfortable and trying to be like, hey, go find something else to do because we're going to bring in your replacement.
Yeah, because I don't think, and refresh my memory if you remember, but I don't think Billups had that big of a hand in filling out his Scott Brooks for lead assistant, because he was first time head coach, and I remember thinking oh, Scott Brooks just got done off being a head coach and he's going to come up and be the lead assistant for this first time. It struck me as like some of those were organizational hires. I think probably Billups hiring his brother, that was, but between
that was not an organizational hire.
No, I think that was hey, we got a spot here. But so this now strikes me as that, if that was an organizational decision for some of those hires, then, you kind of let some of those guys go to the wayside, and whoever ends up being the next, lead assistant, I could see being them trying to shop around for somebody to actually be the next head coach.
Yes. Here's what I'd say, though. Scott Brooks and Chauncey Billups, their playing careers did not directly overlap. But they're kind of Scott Brooks being a little bit older than Billups, but they're actually closer in generation than you might think. And so I don't, even though you're right, that probably was a Blazers choice to bolster the staff of a rookie head coach, I don't think it was someone that Billups did not want to work with, right? It's almost certain that he signed off on that. So I'm not saying they hired him and were here, take this guy and just deal with it. But that's what they're going to do now. And that's the point that Mike Richmond,
that's the sense you get.
That's what Mike Richmond, again, I'm not going to call it reporting, but his, I think, well-grounded analysis suggests
his pontificating,
kind of pushing Chauncey Billups out the door. Here's another twist in this bagel. The Detroit Pistons are looking for a POBO. They're looking for a president of basketball operations. By the way, the funniest piece of NBA reporting I have ever seen in my life, potentially the most pathetic NBA related tweet that I've ever seen, came from Aaron Johnson, who is a reporter on the Pistons. He tweeted yesterday, former Portland Trailblazers president Neil Olshey declined the Detroit Pistons offer to interview for the team's president of basketball operations role, according to Jake Fisher. So sorry, Jake Fisher was the one who reported that. Olshey telling the Pistons, no, thank you. Like, that is hilarious on too many levels.
Well, the Pistons haven't had like a number one overall pick in like 51 years. Like,
hey, this bleeds into the conversation. Yeah, this bleeds into the conversation we're about to have. They're going to be picking fifth now for the third year in a row, despite winning a total of 61 games over 3 years. That ain't great. But like, the point being, hey, the Pistons are looking for a front office person. Chauncey Billups, does he have a history with the Detroit Pistons? Well, he only won a championship and a finals MVP there. Did Chauncey Billups consider a front office role with the Pistons before he took a head coaching role? Why, yes, he did. Has Chauncey Billups been propped up by Joe Cronin and the Blazers as someone who has had at least some decision-making in front office decisions? Well, yes, he has. Ryan, is Chauncey Billups the next Pistons president of basketball operations? Is that where we're heading?
No.
Why not? Come on, man. Like, can you not let a boy dream? You are being so mean to me today.
I know you have hopes and dreams and wants and wishes, but this ain't it.
Why not? The Pistons are getting rejected by Neil Olshey, a man whose name is so stained, he's probably never going to get another job of any relevance and of any visibility whatsoever. I understand he's like a back office voice, back of the room voice with the 76ers right now, I believe. But like, Olshey saying, nah, I'm not even going to interview. They're desperate. So you're telling me they wouldn't want to bring back hometown Chauncey Billups, person who has cachet with the fan base, with the front office, who has like clearly has an eye, an interest in front office stuff, has by all accounts, no offense, sorry, failed as a coach. Why wouldn't, like, that seems like a match made in heaven.
I'm following your logic. I follow it.
Am I convincing you?
The red strings on the corkboard do connect. You have connected them.
I'm doing the pointy meme where all I'm saying,
but
look,
I just don't see it. If the Blazers had, if he had like gotten fired by the Blazers like at the end of this season or whatnot and had nothing going on, can totally see that. If he had gotten fired like last year or the previous year from the Blazers and like went back into broadcasting for a little bit and the Pistons were in this situation, I could totally see it. I cannot under any circumstance see, no matter how much of an embarrassment the organization of the Detroit Pistons has been, I cannot see them being able to survive the pitchforks and vitriol from their fans and hell, probably even some of their players, if they hire a so far unsuccessful first-time head coach to then go and see if he can be the saving grace to be a first-time GM for them just because he carries name brand cachet within that organization.
Let me paint a picture. Imagine that the person is different, the teams are different, and the roles are the same but reversed. Can you think of someone who was a coach, was a front office person, was not particularly successful, then he became a coach. Then he became one of the most successful coaches of our generation.
You don't have to get far. You're talking Steve Kerr, right?
So I'm just saying, yes, I am. Good job. I could. My point is that, like, again, this full circle, Ryan, weird stuff happens in the NBA, and I could see a future in which Chauncey Billups is offered and accepts a front office role with the Detroit Pistons around a staff of perhaps more experienced people, because Chauncey Billups, for all of his faults as a coach, is well respected by people. What is it that you need as a front office person, perhaps even more than as coach? You need the respect of your peers or they will not be doing business with you. I actually think he might be more successful potentially as a front office person. So like, he's shown an interest. The Blazers organization has said for a long time that, look, he has a hand in this stuff. I don't think that that's an accident. I think that's something that the Blazers have done probably at Billups' request to keep the door open for his future to have a career potentially in a front office if he doesn't work out as a coach. So look, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's not off the table. Now, with that,
so well, let me ask you this real quick.
Okay,
we'll wrap and transition on this little series. So, would you say that Billups no longer being the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers would be a good thing?
For whom?
For the Portland Trailblazers.
Yes.
And us as fans.
Yes.
Okay. The Blazers, I don't know if you've noticed, do not get good and nice things, which is why this won't happen.
That's not true. The Blazers do get good and nice things. And like, by the way, I don't think that we can just kind of wave away Damian Lillard's career and the historic success he brought to this franchise.
We do not currently get good and nice things. We had nice things. I'm just saying, like, nice things.
I used to buy in more to the Blazers are cursed thing. And I'm of the firm belief that 0.9 broke the curse. Damian Lillard broke the curse. Maybe Jody Allen and her elephant bones in the closet are rebuilding the curse. I have no idea.
Penguin bones.
Okay,
right.
Fine. Well, you know what? It's all calcium. So, all to say that, like, good things can happen for us. And Ryan, good things can happen for us. They don't always happen for us as Blazers fans. And they did not necessarily happen for us yesterday during the NBA draft lottery, where the Blazers, despite having fourth best odds, didn't fall to fifth, did not fall to sixth, but unfortunately fell to seventh. Ryan, what is your instant reaction about this terrible news?
I have two things real quick. For one, totally did not realize it was noon yesterday. I think the NBA was stupid for putting that on Mother's Day.
Noon on Mother's Day.
Absolutely
great scheduling.
Idiotic, right in the middle of everybody's
when everyone is out at brunch. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so, like, I had a cursory Google. I was just like, NBA draft lottery. And apparently I didn't realize that I was pulling up what the draft lottery time was last year. So I was like, 5:30. And then I just so happened at about like 1:30 or so, like that, just taking a break from something I was doing and scrolling Twitter. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, it happened. Okay.
Fun fact.
So then that was how I got to find out the news of the Blazers. Yay, we got Golden State's pick, and then that we fell to seventh.
Fun fact, really quick interjection. Okay. I watched last year's draft lottery at 12:30 p.m. Live. How is that possible?
Well,
different hemisphere.
World one day.
Continue. Yes, I was. Sorry. Okay, continue.
Anyway, so my live reaction to the Blazers falling to seventh was, meh. Okay, whatever. That's it. The one thing, like, this is not a draft in which there's a name in here that I feel like we got screwed out on because we didn't land in the top four or get the first. Like, if
there are no Wembies in this draft,
there's no Wembies. This draft is not.
There's no Palos.
Draft.
There's no Chets. You know what I mean?
This is a good, solid role player, kind of draft. This is where you can kind of, take some flyers on some guys, but this isn't one where you're like, we totally lost our chance. Like, if we would have got the number one, we could have had that guy. Because looking through mock drafts, probably, I want to say like 7 out of 10 probably have Alexander Sarr, but he has still so many holes in his game for him being figured to be the number one. After that, everybody's draft board is like they threw at a dartboard to come up with the names. It's scattered all around. So while I do understand that it feels horrible to go through the season we went through, intentionally tank, trying to increase our draft lottery odds, which is all that they were, is just odds, to then fall down to 7, have 3 teams jump up. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks, my God, jumping up 9 spots.
They get the first pick for the first time in franchise history. It's kind of cool. Good for them, I guess.
And they're probably going to trade freaking their star player this offseason.
Well, actually, really quick, like, I feel like it makes it less certain that will happen. I mean, even in a bad draft, the number one pick is a number one pick. I think it will give them pause. They'll be like, can we make that work? I don't It doesn't mean that. Yeah. Anyway.
But anyways, and so like that's just kind of my take on it. It's like, man, because this draft isn't a draft in which there's something that I can tell you that the Blazers are 1,000% going to miss out on. Like, we may look back on this draft in 4 or 5 years and be like, oh my God, if the Blazers could have, those ping pong balls, we could have, gotten, I still don't know how to pronounce the Zachary, whatever, that French dude, or Sar or whatever. But yeah, it's not like we're going to at least get to see what kind of scouting chops that Cronin and Mike Schmitz have. That's what they've been trying to hang their hats on for a while. And in a draft where there's no clearly defined superstar, let's go see if you're able to scout and find a diamond in the rough. But yeah, the one thing I want to ask you, did you understand everybody's, or think that it was kind of a reasonable reaction of everybody going like, oh, we wasted the tank. Because I did not get that.
I do understand it, because when you tank really, really hard, you do hope that when you get the fourth best odds that you're going to get fourth or better. I also understand that it was just as likely that the Blazers were going to be picking fifth or worst than fourth or better. So
yeah, they had the best chance at either, I believe, the sixth or seventh pick is right. Where so top two high percentage chances.
Logically, I don't understand it. Emotionally, I super do understand it. I hope that people can take a step back and, again, look at the Detroit Pistons. They've won 10 games a year for 3 years and have gotten the fifth pick every time. The new flattened lottery odds are doing what they're supposed to do, although it's not really changing team tanking behavior, even with the why am I blanking on it? The play-in tournament, which is both of those things combined, are supposed to encourage teams not to tank. But so I do understand it. I did want to quickly mention something, because I'm chatting with our friend and yours, Steve DeWald, who is a draft expert, someone who has been focusing on players coming into the NBA draft for many years. His work, you can find it at Blazers Edge. And he's kind of coming out of hibernation because it's his time to shine. It's draft time.
Yeah. He's away in a cave all year until anybody has a draft question about people they have no clue about.
He's telling me that he's looking at stuff and writing notes in a notebook, literally all year. He checks with people that he trusts, including scouts and front office people, to act I did not understand how much work this dude puts in every year. He really puts in the work. Part of why I know this is that I'm with Blazers Edge and kind of circulating in there more, but B, Ryan, I am going to be bringing people stunning analysis of 2 players from this draft, 2 players that the Blazers may select with either of their picks. But please be point guards. Before I get to that, really quickly, I asked Steve one specific question. I wanted to share his answer. By the way, would love to have Steve on the podcast. He said he'd love to come on, so let's make that happen. I asked him this. I said, Steve, I keep hearing this is the worst draft in 20 years. But I don't know what that means. Does that mean top to bottom, just at the very top, just in the lottery, something else? I told him I had a hard time conceptualizing what that actually means. Here's what Steve said. And again, this is not the end all be all, right? It's his opinion, but he's well informed. What he said is the players at the top of this draft are usually players he's used to seeing at picks 5 to 15. And that players in the 5 to 15 range, read Blazers range, are usually players he's used to seeing in the 15 to 35 range. The back end is about on par. Right. So that answers my question of did this really affect it? It's just at the top end? No. The weakness of this draft is going to be affecting the Blazers players that they pick. So
yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I assumed, but now I'm more comfortable saying that.
And that's where I get that, I don't have my own, damn it, why couldn't the Blazers land in the top 4? Because again, I mean, in that top 4, you're pretty much, you're looking at could be a starter.
Yeah.
And if that's all you're looking for, then I really don't care. Let's save any sort of draft lottery luck where we're due or owed till next year.
That's not how it works. You can't hold your luck and then use it later. Okay.
I have it stored in a little jar.
I want to point out something you said a little bit ago, which I agree with, which pains me to say. You can see the life draining out of my face. I agree with Ryan on something.
It's right here.
But you said that you will have to be trusting the scouting intelligence of Mike Schmitz and of Joe Cronin. And actually, yes, that's what we have to do. Like, I'm not saying it's good that the Blazers slid. You obviously want to pick as high as possible. But I do think that this is the kind of draft and the kind of range that you hired Mike Schmitz for precisely. So hopefully they get really good value out of both of those picks. Are you familiar with any of the players kind of projected to be in the lottery besides Alex Sarr? Spoiler alert, I am not. I am going to have to educate myself. Are you familiar with them at all?
I know Nikola Topic and Donovan Clingan, and outside of Sarr, that's about it.
Are you familiar with Zachary Rizache out of France?
Because that was the one I was talking about before. That he's automatically off my board because I don't want to have to learn to pronounce the name.
Well, just saying, he's a 19-year-old 6'9" French guy. He's one of the people that I'm going to be profiling for Steve and for Blazers Edge. The other person, 6'8", 18-year-old named Ron Holland, who's currently playing in the G League Ignite. He's going to be one of the last players, or actually, I guess, tied with the last player to play for the G League Ignite. Do you have an opinion about Ron Holland?
I know nothing of him other than that he plays for the G League Ignite, so I'm going to say that knocks him down at least a peg and a half in my book.
You'll notice, Ryan, what is something that is in common with both of these players that I picked to profile?
That you're refusing to profile a guard, which ESPN in their first mock draft, which I actually, when I just heard the news of like they had it pegged for that, but when I went and read the analysis, I actually can't necessarily disagree. If they end up like say that Topic, let's say Nikola. God, I got to learn all these people's last names. Anyways, let's say Nikola falls for some whatever reason, which I'm not entirely sure why the Spurs would take a flyer on an 18-year-old French point guard phenom. You know, that's literally right up their alley. But like, let's say that he fell, and for whatever reason, and the Blazers end up taking him. Am I going to be mad that they looked at a team that has Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and Scoot Henderson, and they decided to take a point guard? Probably initially I would be, but at the same point in time, like you look back at some things in history, and I don't think it'd be the worst idea. I don't think Anthony Simons is long for the team, and I think that's it right there. The only reason that you would pass on, like a quote unquote really good point guard that fell to you here would be because you are of the firm belief that Scoot is the future. But if you have even an iota of doubt on Scoot being like the future point guard to build this team around or be a core piece of it, take a flyer on another one.
Yes,
the very famous examples of picks that were taken at number 7 for teams that already had established point guards. You have Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors, and you have Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets. Both of those teams had established point guards that they were already working around, and they took flyers on those other guys, and then ended up making a pivot.
Right.
And those other guys,
and you have to
take.
It's been said to death, but it's true. It's been said to death because it is true. You have to take the best player available. Now, here's what I'll say. I have a couple quick things.
I'd prefer it be a small forward, though. Just say.
Absolutely, which is, again, the two people who I'm profiling are both small forward sized players. I'm more interested in that. That would be great if the best player available happened to be a position of need. Two quick things. One is, and we're not going to expand on this, but just I understand for Joe Cronin and company to trade Anthony Simons, a player whose archetype does not have as much value around the league as we might want, that it puts a slight amount of extra pressure on Cronin, or it encourages other GMs if the Blazers draft another guard to be like, well, you gotta trade him now and sort of stiff arm him in negotiations. I'm not saying that that's going to like significantly affect the return. I think we're going to be disappointed with the return for Anthony Simons anyway. I'm just throwing it out there as a thing to think about. Second thought, I wanted to just quickly at number 7, I'm going to rattle off a list of names, just dudes naming guys. The last 10 NBA players drafted at number 7. And then I just want your reaction about like how that kind of, maybe you already know, but how that tracks with like how valuable number 7 pick is. Again, weak draft, I get it. But last 10 players: Bilal Coulibaly, Shaedon Sharpe, Jonathan Kuminga, Killian Hayes, Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Jamal Murray, who you mentioned, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Julius Randle. And again, if you go back even further, you can find a Steph Curry, but that's what you're looking at. The average of that player is like, you got some real duds, but you got some good ones.
What team drafted Mudiay? Well, you have that list up.
The Nuggets, right?
Jamal Murray was selected. Jamal Murray was selected
the year after. Was it the same front office?
Correct.
It probably was. I think it was. Okay, so there you go. So best player available always wins, right? And even though the Blazers are they sent, who for those listening, just a quick quiz: who did the Blazers send to represent them in the draft lottery? Scoot Henderson,
a guy who decided to pray. He didn't
Scoot
bring
Henderson.
Any good luck charms. He decided to just pray.
Well, whatever floats their boat, fine with me. But they sent Scoot Henderson, which is an affirmative public message from the organization of we support you for now, but we support you. So, okay, we've got a lot to think about in the coming weeks. I'm going to be bringing some in-depth analysis on players not yet in the NBA. Ryan, I've never done this before. I told Steve, I'm kind of scared. I've not done this before. Can you help me? He sent me a lot of good advice. I'm going to do my best. We'll talk about it on the show and other stuff. We'd like to get some guests in here, so look out for that. But before we bounce, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure we touched on?
I happen to be on the Rip City Roundtable on their last episode. Came out last Thursday.
You didn't even. Why did you not tell me about that? You son of a gun! I haven't listened to it. How'd it go? Was it fun?
Totally spaced. Yeah. No, it was just a kind of a lot of story time. I think I made Corey very jealous of my tiny little closet here. I gave him the video tour of it. He did then
got a cool space.
He's like, I do see why you guys want to or have no problem about doing video. He's like, it looks like your professional setup. And I was like, trust me, this is thrown together over years. But yeah, it was really fun. It was a good chat. But yeah, I shared quite a few of my fun podcasting stories and shenanigans. It was extremely weird when the episode dropped to read that I am a veteran and seasoned coverer of the Portland Trailblazers and
don't sell yourself short. You've been doing this for a while.
Podcasting expert. Well, that was when I did the math, and I was like, holy crap! It really has been 8 or 9 years. I still just consider myself some idiot who found a microphone on You're
Amazon. Still and that. Occasionally talk to people. Are still an idiot who found a microphone, but yeah. You've been doing it a while, man.
But yeah,
congratulations. That's super cool.
And that got me to thinking that I have told numerous humorous stories of my time doing this little podcasting thing and events that have happened. And so I want on an upcoming episode in this off season, and maybe we can even possibly do it next week, barring any sort of major news. But Mr. Goldner, I need you to pick your brain because there have been some just things I've seen in passing that I need to find out details on. Trips to New York for doing some commercial work in regards to the Blazers, just other things from your time in doing podcasting. I need some of your fun stories, and we can start to unpack some of that.
I am happy to share those on another episode of We Like the Blazers, which you can. Is that okay? Am I good to get us out?
Go. You
and by the way, congrats. Check out the Rip City Roundtable, specifically with Ryan, with host Corey Dickman, also part of the Rogue Media Network, which We Like the Blazers is also a part of, and you can find us at WeLikeTheBlazers.com. You can also find me on Twitter at GoldenRPDX. You can find him at The Witty Ryan. You can also find our podcast on literally any podcatcher. Once again, shout out to Rogue Media Network and shout out to Blazers Edge, as we are a part of the Blazers Edge family podcast. The other one being Trail Daddy with Dave Decker. Do check that out, as well as Rip City Roundtable. I am saying a lot of podcasts, but all I really want to say is that I so appreciate you listening. Seriously, I do. Thank you for being here. We love you, and go Blazers.
Go Blazers.